just after dinner, the windows open to let in the spring air, when a high-pitched, human-like wail echoed from the woods behind my neighbor's house. It was quick, only a second or two, but enough to make me pause with my fork halfway to my mouth. I live in a quiet suburb. Nothing dramatic ever happens here. My neighbor, Mr. Dalton, is a retired high school teacher. Quiet, keeps to himself. We wave, exchange the occasional, "How's the lawn holding up?" kind of conversation, but that's about it. The next night, the scream came again. Same time, same sound. And this time, I was sure it wasn't an animal. It was a woman. I stood on my back porch, staring into the dark stretch of trees that separated our yards. The sound had come from just beyond them, from the direction of Mr. Dalton's old shed, the one hidden behind his house, nearly swallowed by vines and brush. I'd barely noticed it before, but now it felt like the only thing worth noticing. I wanted to believe it was my imagination. I really did, until the third night. This time I was ready. I turned off all the lights, opened the window nearest the woods, and waited. At exactly 9:38 p.m., the scream came again, louder now, strained, like whoever it was had been yelling for hours. I dropped the glass I was holding. It shattered on the floor, but I didn't even flinch. The sound had come from a shed. I was sure of it. I didn't sleep that night. The image of that overgrown building burned into my mind. By morning, I convinced myself to go over and check. Rational thoughts, maybe someone's hurt, maybe he doesn't know, mixed with anxiety. Mr. Dalton answered the door with his usual soft smile. "Everything okay?" he asked, blinking at the sunlight. "Yeah, sorry to bother you," I said. "Just heard something weird the past few nights. From your backyard." His expression didn't change. "Probably raccoons. They scream when they fight." "Yeah, could be." I hesitated. "You got a shed back there, right?" He nodded slowly. "Old thing. Just for tools. Haven't used it in years." I thanked him and walked back to my house, but my gut said otherwise. That night, I snuck out. I wore black, kept low, and crept through the trees until I reached the side of his yard. The shed stood like a forgotten relic, weathered wood, rusted hinges, padlock on the door. But the strangest part? A dim, battery-powered lantern hung inside, visible through a small window caked with dirt. No one forgets a shed they still light up. I circled quietly, trying to find a better view. That's when I heard it again, a soft whimper this time. Close, desperate. I moved toward the back of the shed and froze. Footsteps. Someone was inside. I crouched low, heart hammering in my chest, and peeked through a crack in the boards. Inside was a mattress on the floor, chains, a bucket, a blanket, and a woman, barely more than skin and bone, tied to a steel pipe. Before I could react, a hand grabbed me by the shoulder. I yelped and spun around, only to see Mr. Dalton standing there. No smile this time. "I figure it was you," he said calmly, like we were chatting over a fence. "You should have just ignored it." My mind raced. I tried to step back, but he didn't move. He wasn't even holding a weapon, just watching me. Then came the twist, the thing I still struggle to explain. The woman inside started banging her head against the wall, screaming now. Not words, just guttural, frantic shrieks. Dalton looked over his shoulder. "She's not mine," he whispered. "I found her out here weeks ago. Thought she was dead." I blinked. "What?" "I didn't put her there. She did it herself. Chains and all. Every time I try to call someone, she attacks. She won't let me leave. Won't let me sleep. She says someone's watching through the trees." He turned to face me again, eyes glassy. "I haven't left in days. I padlocked it to keep her in, not to hide her. I swear." I didn't know what to believe. But the woman inside wasn't just screaming now. She was howling, thrashing against the walls. Then, from behind me, I heard twigs snap. Not one, several, like footsteps. I turned around, flashlight shaking in my hand, and pointed it toward the woods. Nothing, just trees. Dalton backed away slowly. "If you saw her, She'll come for you too. I left. Ran. Called the police, of course. They came. Found the woman. Unconscious. Dehydrated. She was hospitalized. They questioned Dalton, but his story matched everything. The woman had no ID, no missing person report, nothing. And she'd chained herself up. There were no signs of restraint marks beyond self-inflicted ones. No evidence of abuse. They let him go. She never spoke a word. And a week later, she disappeared from the hospital. No footage. No witnesses. Gone. Now, every night, I lock all my doors and check every window twice. Because sometimes, just as I'm about to fall asleep, I hear it again. A woman scream. Maybe some things you never forget. I was brushing my teeth when I heard the faint creak of footsteps above me. Slow, deliberate, like someone trying not to be heard. It was an old building, a narrow 3-story structure in a quiet neighborhood. My apartment was on the 2nd floor, and the 3rd had been unoccupied since I moved in 3 months ago. I'd asked the landlord about it when I signed the lease. He just laughed and said, "Place is falling apart. Don't worry, no one goes up there." But someone did. At first, I tried to ignore it. Buildings make noises, right? Pipes, wood expanding, all that. But this wasn't that. I'd hear distinct, slow pacing. Occasionally, a thud like something heavy dropping. Once a dragging sound, like furniture scraping. Then came the smell. A thick, sour stench began to seep through my ceiling. It reminded me of rotting meat, masked poorly with cheap disinfectant. I tried burning candles, spraying air fresheners, even stuffing towels around the vents, but always returned. One night, curiosity got the better of me. I crept up the staircase to the 3rd floor. The door was bolted with a thick chain from the outside, but the wood frame was cracked, just enough to peek through. Darkness, then movement, a shape, quick and low, like someone crawling just beyond the threshold. I stumbled back and left without looking again. I should have told someone, called the landlord, but something about it fell off. Like whatever was up there didn't want to be discovered. And a part of me, maybe the foolish part, wanted to believe I was imagining things. Then I saw the eye. I was watching TV late one night, lights off, window open. Across the alley, I noticed a small reflection in the 3rd floor window. I leaned forward. It was an eye, just one, peering through a slit in the curtains, staring directly into mine. No blinking, no movement. I slammed the window shut and didn't sleep that night. The next day, I ran into my downstairs neighbor, Mrs. Levin, an elderly woman who lived alone. "You look pale, dear," she said, handing me a folded bag of cookies she'd baked. "Something wrong?" I hesitated, then asked, "You ever hear anything upstairs?" She stiffened. "Not since he left." "What? Who?" She gave me a puzzled look. "The man who used to live above you." "Thought you knew." "I thought no one lived there." Mrs. Levin shifted uncomfortably. "It was a while ago. Nice man, quiet. But strange. He boarded himself in near the end. Kept saying someone was watching him through the walls. Said he couldn't sleep. We all thought he'd lost it. One day, he just vanished. Left everything behind. That night, I couldn't shake the feeling that I wasn't alone. I kept glancing at the ceiling, listening for sounds, but it was silent. Then, just after midnight, my fire alarm started beeping. I checked the batteries, fine. Tried to reset it. Still beeped. Suddenly, I noticed smoke, faint, curling from the edges of the ceiling vent. I ran upstairs, phone in hand, heart pounding. The door to the 3rd floor was open. Inside, the apartment was pitch black. The air hit me like a wall, rank, humid, metallic. I stepped inside, using my phone's flashlight. The walls were covered in drawings, hundreds of them. Faces, all the same expression. Wide eyes, mouths open, as if screaming. Some were drawn in ink. Others, I don't know. They looked smeared. In the center of the room was a mattress, soaked through, surrounded by dozens of empty tuna cans and old plastic bottles. And in the corner, A camcorder, still powered on, its red light blinking. I picked it up and pressed play. There was no sound, just a single, continuous shot of the apartment from the same corner I stood in. The footage showed a man pacing back and forth, eating, sleeping, talking to someone off-screen who was never there. Then about 10 minutes in, he stops, turns to the camera, and says, "He's watching me now, through the walls. I don't know how long he's been here." At that moment, I heard movement behind me. I turned and saw a figure in the hall, dirty clothes hanging off thin limbs. He wasn't shocked to see me, just confused. "You're not him," he muttered, blinking. "You're not me." Then he rushed past me, barefoot, muttering, scratching at his arms, and disappeared down the stairwell. I called the police. They searched the building. No sign of him, but they did find something else. The attic above the third floor had been hollowed out. Someone had been living in the crawl space. Bedding, food wrappers, a small hole cut through the floor, right above my ceiling vent. He'd been watching me, listening, for weeks. I moved out the next morning, never went back. But sometimes, in my new apartment, when it's late and the world is quiet, I swear I hear someone walking above me. Maybe it will take some time for my head to make its peace with it.